I read from is the other Booker Prize. Obviously not the real Booker Prize, because the Booker Prize goes to people who write very good English. So it has to be the other. It's not autobiography. I think Churchill should write an autobiography, but the book is called A Memoir of Fictitious Character. So there is one section there. The voice is, her name is Abigail Perlmutter, and she writes a little essay describing her problems with the English language. And it goes as following. The benchmark of 40% understanding English applied to Hetty. It's allow me to start the paragraph before. Anyway, the truth is that usually when you talk, people get what you mean, or at least the more perceptive of them get it. Apparently, children understand only about 40% of the words that adults use. The other 60% they make up from the context and from the speaker's voices, smiles, or frowns. The benchmark of 40% understanding English applies to Hetty, our nanny. In fact, I should place her at less than 40%, maybe only 20 or 25% understanding. She's a Kosa woman who can speak more languages than most adults in the USA. I know that this doesn't say much, but at least it gives you an indication that she speaks more than just her mother tongue. Alas, the other languages she knows only intuitively. She gets the drift. So when I ask her to pack the meat in the freezer, she cleans the freezer, which is good, but the meat that stays at room temperature goes rotten. When I ask her to dust the shelves in my office, she cleans the shutters instead. Probably, she worked out that the word starting with sh in my office must be the shutters. She remembered it from all the fuss we made when we go to the shutters. On the other hand, she may be very clever. If you had seen the numbers of bookshelves in my office, you would also prefer to clean the 4 small shutters like that. Once I asked Hetty to sweep the driveway all the way to the post. She went very quiet. She drank her tea silently and sulked. As she was new in our home, I had wondered what was wrong with her and inquired, to which she responded, "The post office is long way away. Even Pick and Pay is nearer. Why can't other people in Camps Bay help a little?" I reassured her, "Hetty, I don't mean the post office, I mean the post box." When my son ever so politely offered another term, the mailbox, that's when her face lit up. When Hetty and I communicate in English, it is like the blind leading the blind. And you know what makes it sadder? She is acutely aware that her livelihood depends on her understanding me, and therefore she does not argue much. She just tries to cope. I cannot imagine what goes on in her head when I speak with my strong foreign accent and my mistakes. Even simple words that she does not know cause her grief. Last year I decided to do something nice for Christmas. So a couple of weeks before Christmas I bought tickets for Morning Melodies in the Baxter Theatre. I wanted her to feel special and decided to take her to a beautiful place. So I told her that on a particular Wednesday I was going to take her to the theatre. She went very quiet, and I assumed that she was overwhelmed, as most probably she had never been to a theatre before. So on Tuesday I reminded her to come tomorrow in nice clothes. We are going to the theatre. And she nodded silently. On Wednesday, when she arrived, I hurried her to the car and we went to the Baxter. As we approached the place, there was a major traffic jam and we were crawling bumper to bumper past the impressive building on the way to the parking lot. I said to her, "This is the theatre where we go." She was baffled. Then she asked, "Is this in the hospital?" I got such a shock. I saw our face relaxed when I explained to her that we were not going to a hospital, we were going to a show in a place which is called a theatre. When we sat down in the plush chairs, I could not stop imagining the horror she had been through in the past couple of weeks. She had thought I was taking her to some bizarre and unexplained operation in a hospital. She had no idea that the theater is also a place for a show. The nerves of the past weeks took their toll, and as we sat down and the lights dimmed, she fell into a deep and satisfying sleep. For a linguist, it would have been just a homophone. For Hattie, it was an arrow that planted fear into her heart. It made her resolute. Come what may, she would not lose the job even if she had to lose a limb or two. I was very upset as I wondered what she would thought of me, what she had thought of me during those past few weeks. There is a very funny part there about how foreign speaking always, we are so tired because we try all the time to figure out that people speak to us. And that's why many times people think we are lazy. They say foreigners are lazy or something. It's just, okay. That was in October. Welcome to the club, my first novel. What we didn't know at the time, that Gus Ferguson from Snail Press would hurry the poetry book through, and there's a new book, it just came out less than 2 weeks ago, so it's not launched yet, but it's here, the shops have it, and I would like to read for you some of the poems. It's called Silver Highlights, and as my children say, no brainer, why is it called Silver Highlights? You can see it's at this stage of my life. You know, when I was 30, I wrote erotic poetry. When I was 40, I wrote sort of family poetry. Now at late 50s, I'm writing sort of thinking about life, observations. It's different. People, when they bought this book and they read it, they kept phoning me. Once I got a phone call at 7 in the morning and they said, did you really throw a person overboard in a yacht? And I said, guys, this is not an autobiography, this is a novel. And then there is this poem that comes from the thought of it. It's called Rewrite. I started to rewrite my diaries. My children don't remember me young anyway. They think that I was always this age. And my retired neighbors know me as a reasonable and reliable peer. So what does it matter if I really was mischievous in school or if I invent some romantic antics? If I reread my rewrite enough times, I will remember it as my real life. And when I die, my diary will be deposited in the archives to be entered as truth into the World Chronicles. So, why I write? First, I wrote my admirations, followed by my gratitude. Then, I wrote lest I forget. Now I write to be. Summer school is amazing, isn't it? It's years, I think, once when I came the first time, like 20 years ago, I didn't know even what to expect. And since then, I call it the Festival of Knowledge. It is amazing how much knowledge, like an ocean of knowledge comes. And sometimes when you walk around, obviously I'm talking to the converted, because you're here to get this knowledge. But sometimes I think, why is it that people are not, the human race is not cleverer, because there is so much knowledge floating. And I found the answer. I wrote it in a very short poem. It's called Human Nature. Human Nature. Between the sea of knowledge and the shores of wisdom lies the reef of arrogance. Okay? You know, it's only when we think we know everything, we are arrogant and we think we know everything, we don't let the knowledge come in. So it's between the sea of knowledge and the shores of wisdom lies the reef of arrogance. grief. I told you, maybe Finola or Ingrid should have read my poem. Then you would have to go and buy the book. I wrote a poem and I had to rebut it myself. So the first poem is called Freedom, and you'll see I wrote another one to answer this poem. It's called Freedom. Today I went to my lingerie drawer and resolutely searched for my bloomers. Out came the tiny lacy things in pink and black. Out came the G-strings and tangas, the polka dot and the red little flowers. I've had enough of beauty that itches, sexy ladies that scratches, coquettish little things that get stuck, or something high-legged that has to be pulled down all the time. Now I'm comfortable, ready to be wrapped and hugged by old-fashioned cotton that covers me wall to wall. After years of being hidden, I found the bloomers right at the bottoms of the drawer. I brought them into the sunlight and smiled. And of course, this poem is called Freedom, because you discover the freedom. Yeah, the next poem is called Feminine Conformity. A few months ago, I wrote that I had had enough of my sexy lingerie and looked for my bloomers. I was proud of my freedom just to be. I decided that it was better to be wrapped and hugged wall to wall by old-fashioned cotton than to be itched and scratched by little lacy things. But a few weeks went by, and I realized that I had eternity to be covered in cotton shrouds. I thought, what is a little discomfort for a coquettish sensation if it puts a spring in my step and makes the world know that I'm still in the race? I know time is short, so I'll read to you one. It's a very touching poem that I wrote for my father. Unlike in the other Booker Prize, my father is not a professor, Sam Perlmutter. He worked in a foundry. And I wrote, my father's gift. My father did not have a pen. He had a sledgehammer and an enormous furnace and a dark blue shirt that smelled of soap when he put it on in the early morning and smelled of hard work when he took it off in the evening. For my bat mitzvah, he gave me a pen. It was an old-fashioned pen, just as he had wanted for his own bar mitzvah. But instead, his parents gave him his first dark blue shirt and told him that when he was older, he would have to buy his own pen. My father's favorite moment was when he gave each daughter a beautiful pen at her bat mitzvah. Now we are grown-ups and he's old. He writes poems of praise. We write poems of praise to him. And though we all have computers now, we send him letters of love with these pens and put them in beautiful envelopes, writing his names and our old home address with beautifully formed letters. My father does not wear his blue shirt anymore and is often at his own computer now. But whenever he gets one of our letters, he caresses it, smudging the ink slightly, which makes him smile. My father's gift to us were pens. Now we write poems about his love for our mother, about his devotion to his daughters, and about his blue shirt that smelled of soap in the morning, and of hard work when he hugged us on his return home after work.